You're listening to 91.7 KPSU, Goodwell, Oklahoma. Ty Fly and the Doug Bug Show. Once again, no Daddy Dave. We might as well just cut him out of the show. He's like never going to show up.
Yeah, might as well, but probably show up one of these weeks and we're like, wow, he actually showed up.
Yeah, when we least expect it. Just played your song there on, we just played your song on Sexy Back. You know, Doug's always bringing Sexy Back on this show. Let's rip this off like a Band-Aid. Basketball season basically done. They got one more game left on Saturday versus Lincoln.
The worst team, the both boys and girls.
Well, actually, not exactly the girls. As we'll scroll down here and check that out. Lincoln girls will actually make the playoffs. And this is one of those big deals. It's almost as big as if OPSU girls made the playoffs.
They never make playoffs.
But they will this year. Since the Aggies lost the other night to Newman, they are officially out. Looking up at the standings. And basically, I mean, the top six are set. This weekend, a lot of the games determine the seeding. Like Dallas Baptist, Newman, they'll be fighting for number 2. St. Mary's will also be fighting for the number 2 spot. So, except for Incarnate Word at number 1, everything else is up in the air as far as standings. Boys, Incarnate Word, number 1. Right now, currently, Dallas Baptist is at 2, Newman at 3, St. Mary's at 4. All those teams with 10 wins this season in conference play.
But St. Mary's has one more loss than they do.
And they're on a 2-game losing streak. Dallas Baptist a 3-game winning streak after losing to OPSU here. And that's the sad thing looking at our boys. They swept Dallas Baptist, who's second in the conference right now.
But they're not. They split the series with mediocre teams, or they got swept.
Texas A&M and St. Edwards will be fighting for the 5th seed. OPSU, Texas Permian Basin, and Lincoln are the 3 teams that will be left out of the tournament, unfortunately. And then next year, someone else is going to get bumped eventually because of University of Arkansas Fort Smith.
With that Williams kid inside.
Yeah, and then they also had a point guard, and I don't remember his name right now. Pulling up the girls' side, Incarnate Word will clinch the number 1 seed. St. Mary's will clinch the number 2 seed. No surprises there. Texas Permian Basin, the 3 seed, who OPSU swept in the series.
But they can't beat anybody else, it seems like. I mean, they only have 3 total wins, and 2 of them are versus Texas Permian Basin.
Lincoln, we just discussed that their playoff appearance will be a big deal at the 4. St. Edwards also fighting for that. They have a big game with Texas A&M International, who sits in that 6th and final spot right now. Newman at 5. So from 4 to 6, like we kind of expected, is going to be a toss-up.
I mean, the one game separated those 4 teams. Lincoln, St. Edwards, Newman, and Texas A&M International.
And actually, how the tournament is set up, only one team gets... Actually, excuse me there. 2 teams are the teams that are being taken out of the playoffs. Texas A&M International, I just said, was the 6th. They're actually the 7th. And they will have to fight St. Edwards this weekend to make the playoffs. And eventually one of those teams are in, one of those teams are out. And Newman's basically going to be the team that got lucky and didn't have to play to stay in. So either St. Edwards or Texas A&M International will make the playoffs. The other won't. And OPSU will be the other team out of it. And once again, you got to watch out for University of Arkansas Fort Smith next year because that team was almost a 500 team this year. And depending on how they do tomorrow, I mean, it'll make it extremely close. They're on a 4-game win streak, and if they win tomorrow, that finish out their season at 12-13. That's not bad.
Yeah, so.
And seeing now that basketball's over, might as well start talking about baseball and softball. Baseball standings for the Heartland Conference. Incarnate Word, nationally ranked, sits up top at 13-0. In conference they're 13-0. 13-2 in total record. Texas Permian Basin sits right behind him at 10-4. St. Mary's at 3 with 7-5. They do have a loss to OPSU.
But they won the series 2-1.
St. Edward's right behind them at 6-7. Texas A&M International 5-9. OPSU, that's another conference win for them. Newman and Lincoln at the 6-7 spot, and OPSU rounds it out in the final spot at 3-11 in conference and overall play. University of Arkansas Fort Smith is still
not a part of the conference.
Exactly.
I mean, OPSU this year, give them some congratulations. They won more games than they did all the entire last year.
And they're scoring a lot of runs, but they're allowing a lot of runs, and that just is not how you play baseball.
At least they can score this year.
They have 3 games coming up before our next show next Friday. A doubleheader at St. Edward's on tomorrow, I believe, on the 26th. Actually, that's today, their doubleheader. And actually, they're in progress right now in Austin, Texas. Then they play tomorrow, once again, at St. Edward's in Austin, Texas. And then on, what day is, on Tuesday,
they play West Texas A&M.
Down there in Amarillo, so...
They might as well stay in Texas.
Exactly. Well, so they're on their little road trip there to all the Texas towns, Austin and Amarillo. For softball, St. Mary's leads the conference at 12-3, and I've looked at softball a little more than I have baseball, and they have an astounding freshman pitcher who's going to cause a lot of problems for the batters and the rest of the conference.
But besides her pitching, we kind of not so hot in pitching.
St. Edward's behind them at 10-5. Incarnate Word 3 at 6-7. Texas Permian Basin 6-12. OPSU at the 5 with the 2-6 record. Texas A&M International 4-6 or 4-13. Newman has not played a game yet, and Lincoln is 0-2. For upcoming games, though, the Lady Aggies are home tomorrow with East Central State. Doubleheader starting at 12 over there at the at the softball field.
Then they play Eastern New Mexico, a doubleheader the next day
on Sunday. That game is at 1:00. So if you have nothing to do, come visit and watch.
I bet those games got canceled because of the snow.
Depends on if we get snow.
When we got snow earlier, because I don't have back-to-back days with double headers.
Who knows? It'll be a very tough stretch for them there. And then Tuesday they go to Colorado Springs to play the University at Colorado Springs.
Another double header.
So a tough week coming up for the Lady Aggies. And I believe they also have a Friday game, but we'll talk about that game next Friday.
Yeah.
So that is our OPSU wrap-up. And that was quick enough for our 10 minutes, so we'll go back to song breaks and come back with more music in a little bit. See you then.